Well, in the meantime, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing all right. I'm very well. It's Sunday, so I'm up to the sorts of things that I do on Sunday, which is get sort of introspective. So my brain and focus is a bit more like my gaze is a bit behind my nose
Mm,
ridge here. Do you sometimes have days like that?
every day is like that. No. I don't have, no, I take that back. Mondays is like grown up weekend day. So I work Saturdays, but Sunday and Monday we take off basically most weeks. And
Yeah.
Sunday is mostly kid family fun day. And then Monday is usually the grown up introspection downtime day. So I have a bit of that.
Yeah.
All the kids are mostly gone right now, so Sunday is also a bit of a chill day.
That's
Which
awesome.
is why, even though I forgot we were going to have a podcast, I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, let's do that."
Totally. I am sharing to two places because I have a plan in my head that I'm going to go create a new way for us to launch where we can be streaming to different places and change the format so that we don't ever have to edit. I just haven't done it yet. So the cross posting tool that we lost, I will reinvent somehow magically. It'll be awesome.
Groovy.
Uh, yeah. Well, I think the other thing is I recognize that I also a week from now will be my birthday, and I'm even less about it than normal.
From
Like,
today, from
yeah,
Sunday.
a week from today will be my birthday. And last year I had some ideas and desires. I had wanted to do this big live show
Yeah.
for years, and I'd been trying to work it out with this theater that I was supervising frequently. I was like, I want to do it here, and considering which bands, and there just kept being reasons why it wasn't working out. So last year to do a kind of live stream variety show with friends was awesome and fun. It may be accurate to say that if I have desires in general for my life and also my birthday, I haven't informed myself what those are
Like for this year.
lately. For this year for my birthday, but also sort of like in general. I'm like, what am I connected to wanting right now?
Hmm.
And I often at this time of year will get very sort of, inner eye gazy about what have I done with my life and what I want to be doing and where do I want to be. So that's kind of my Sunday has felt sort of that energy.
I
And
thought I was a year older than I was for almost this whole year until like a couple of weeks ago.
oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I gained a whole year. I thought this was my 39th birthday coming up,
Right.
but it's actually my 38th birthday.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You did a version of what my mom did.
What's that?
So my mom before her 50th birthday, she has a mom person and she has a dad person she thought was her dad, and then her mom told her, hey, that's not your dad. Very unfortunate. Not an exciting story, but she also was sent off to live
Sounds
with
exciting.
cousins. I don't actually think that they were related. I probably think indentured servitude, but she was raised by these people and adopted by these people. So before her 50th birthday, that year, she was sent, like, I guess that woman, the Miss Pearson, was ill. And so my mom went out to take care of her. And then Miss Pearson passed away. But while my mom was like going through all of the paperwork and cleaning out the house and getting it ready to sell and all this stuff, taking care of this person who like raised her from 7-ish to, I can't quite tell, 16, 18, depending on which story I'm trying to catch from her. It's hard to tell. So yeah, she discovered that they forged documents about her age for some reason. So legitimately, right around when she thought she was going to be 50, she learned that she was actually only 48 and not 49. And so she got to avoid turning 50
Yeah.
for legitimate reason. I was like, Mom, yeah, only you and
Yeah, you
your
just gained a
story
year.
of so much.
Yeah.
Would you find a legit and also kind of sad and weird reason to
Well,
not
it's
be
better
50?
than finding $20 in your pocket.
it?
Gaining a whole year back? No, I mean the circumstances under which she gained that. I understand. I'm just saying the experience of going, whoa, I have a whole more year of my life.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Oh, we should do a hypnosis audio. That's you get a new year, you get a free year. Congratulations. And what would people do with that year if that's how they felt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. How you been?
Good. I've actually watched quite a few things in the last week. I went to the movie theater for the first time in
Oh my
18
gosh.
months, I think.
Nice.
And it was fun. Although I will admit, I walked away from the movie theater going, this is not significantly better than my current home theater experience. And that just made me go, well, maybe I'll just go to movies more rarely and occasionally. Like Dune, I want to see that movie in the theater. I really want to see that in the theater. That I don't think would be as fun. But maybe the Marvel movies will not be a thing I need to go to the movie theater every single time.
That's interesting. A friend had an extra ticket for Black Widow. I went to I don't think it's necessarily the best sound, best video space, but it's a gorgeous space and it's in the center of Portland, kind of, and a lot of the more fun humans go there. So all of the Marvel releases that I'd gone to in that space were just giant movie parties.
Yeah.
People would dress up and they would cheer.
That's
and
awesome.
It was very interesting to be there. And I was the only one wearing a mask at the theater. And that's fine. Even though what I read from the page was that everybody would be wearing masks. They'd passed that you could be maskless places like a week or so prior to me going to this movie. So I'm in there and I just got the feeling that everyone wanted to cheer more. And there were places where they would normally cheer more, but everybody was just a little bit more quiet and muted than the standard for this space. And it wasn't as full, certainly. You can hear people just like, instead of like real claps, you can hear like, yeah, just like, I'm like, it was a little adorable. But yes, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be that way for a little while.
No clue. I'm very curious what's going on for the friends of mine who are finally getting to play music for audiences and go to shows. I'm not drawn to that just yet, but I also, full disclosure, no one's going to be surprised. I became a sound engineer in part because I wanted to have a safe place to listen to music and go to concerts without having beer spilled on me or like elbows bumped in. I'm not fond of people brushing their butts on me as they pass me. Like I have to really like, and I have to really get myself in the right state to overcome the other humans at concerts. Even though as a performer, I love all of the humans and all of that energy. It's just not, it's not my favorite. I like space at shows. So it could be interesting for me to go. I've seen some photos of people playing in full lawns where there's like two seats next to each other with shit tons of space and then two sheets. And I'm like, oh, that might be great.
Yeah, what was that concert that some band did next to a hotel, and everybody who was in the hotel rooms were like social? That was rad. I would go see shows like that because then you could curate. It's like everybody has a box seat.
Totally.
You know, it's pretty. That's a cool idea. I wish that would continue.
And then you've got a hotel room to hang out in.
Exactly.
And, you know where the bathroom is, and you've got food available.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
you can be as engaged with the music as you want, and nobody's going to be judging you. You can dance, and no one else is really looking except for maybe the band themselves.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the idea I came up with? It was sort of a mix between if I could be a refugee and go to Australia, or if I could work out some agreement for a couple of years where I can go to so it's full lockdown everywhere. I was like, what could be interesting? And here's the skill set I have. What if I created a company that uses all of the performing houses in Australia, but on the off days, off hours, we have a crew of sound engineers and lighting people. And we set up video and cameras such that you've got a spot down in front row and the balcony and all these different positions in the audience. You're doing 360 video, and somebody could buy a digital ticket to all of the top names of humans who couldn't perform anywhere else. They fly in, they quarantine in Australia, they rehearse a bit, we get it. And then you buy a virtual seat that could be, you know, for your Oculus, you could watch it and you could feel it the way you would, because they've got all the gear. And then if you like somebody bumping up against you, you could be wearing this thing and hear it as epically as you would want to, and be, you know, pretend that you're seeing some of the most amazing performers in these gorgeous venues that are in a place you wouldn't usually travel to.
Yeah.
I invented that company in my head, and I thought, well, I know a whole bunch of like sound and tech refugees who would be willing to like chill out and live and earn money doing rad stuff in another country for a year or two.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe somebody else thought of it too and they're making it. It should exist.
Or you could go do it because it's a great idea.
I have so many great ideas that I don't necessarily want to do.
I know.
I want to like here's my idea and then hand it out to people who could maintain the passion for that sort of thing.
I have a bunch of like movie and video game ideas that I'm like, I think this is a good idea. Nobody else is doing it, but I don't know what to do with it. So whatever.
That's true. So shoot,
you want to talk about things?
I do. I watched so many things, and I like for a week there were two things that I watched that the moment that I watched them, I just wanted to watch them again. There was just something enjoyable and pleasurable about them. So it was like I saw Black Widow in the theater, and then I watched it again. I mean, a day or two later, and I saw the movie Long Shot. Have I talked to you about this? Long Shot is Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen, where Charlize is playing the Secretary of State and Seth is a journalist. And it's a rom-com. I don't know if I've seen a rom-com. I don't think people are doing them as
not really. Was it good?
I actually really was surprised to enjoy it. And I think two things made it wonderful. So part one that made it wonderful is I seem to have placed Seth Rogen in this, like I've positioned him in my head as one of those like douchey dude bro comedy dudes. And it turned, and I forgot that he and Judd Apatow, like squished them into that space, but I forgot that they're actually more heartfelt.
Yes.
And they poke at the edges of that expectation and then just show up with a lot more depth and heart. And I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So I went in with supremely low expectations to watch this movie. And then the other thing was I had no idea how funny Charlize Theron is.
Oh my God, she's a fucking genius. Have you seen Arrested Development?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
She has like 3 or 4 episode arc on there that is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking Monster, right? She was
not
in that.
Funny.
No. I'm saying like her range.
Well, yeah.
Like Total Transformation, Monster, the Mad Max Fury Road thing where she's utterly badass and funny at the same time, and obviously gorgeous. She can do that kind of stuff.
I don't recall her being funny in Thunder Road.
In what?
Did you say the Mad Max was where
Fury Road? No. I wasn't saying she's funny in that one. I'm saying she's funny in other stuff. There was something else I recalled recently.
She did a movie. Okay, so when I was like, holy fuck, she's funny as hell, supernatural, playful. What the heck? I love this movie. It's a really good underdog love story movie. That's one of the big themes in there. So I was like, wait a second, maybe she was funny before and I missed it. And I haven't thought about Arrested Development in a long while because I think I watched all of the original series in like 2008, and that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I like crammed it into it like a month. It got so overwhelming because it was too funny, and I kind of felt my face twitching at how hilarious and like the like fire hosing was how I was watching it. So I went back and I went through and watched like many of her other movies, and it's kind of true that there isn't another body of like a piece of work that's actually this funny with her.
Did you see Young Adult?
I am watching it. She's
So it's not funny in the same way. No, it's like it's kind of hard to watch.
Yes, it is.
Hancock. There was some play for comedy parts in that.
Oh God, I love her so much. I love that movie so much. I'm gonna write it down. I haven't seen that in a while. We should watch that together.
I thought that movie was interesting for sure. I don't know if I loved it, but it was like, it was like, oh, this is different. I've never seen this before, and I appreciated that. And I don't know, Will Smith. He has had a run of movies that some of them are like, this should have worked, and it didn't, and I'm not sure why.
I don't know. Hancock is a setup that's so fascinating. I don't know if the world was ready for that movie. There's something
that movie might have done way better now when they were trying to like do something fresh and original with the superhero genre, and like then it was just burgeoning.
Yeah, so, ahead of its time.
She was also in The Italian Job, which I think she had a little bit of comedy, like lines and stuff in that.
Well, so how am I doing? So I don't.
Are you trying to make a point and I keep interrupting you?
No, it's okay. So she has never. So there's a thing. I think there's something that's challenging for women and the word comedy, because there are a lot of times that people will write a line that's intended to be funny and an actor will deliver it and then people will laugh.
Right.
There are probably plenty of times where she has delivered a line that was intended to be funny and people are like, there's like,
it's
a character who has a moment where they are intentionally trying to make a joke or be sarcastic and it gets a laughing response.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredibly different than this particular character is naturalistically hilarious, earnestly hilarious in really surprising ways, because she's playing a character who's theoretically this powerful, she's Secretary of State, powerful political force in the world, and where she just embodies a kind of curiosity and play. And in this relationship with Seth's character, this journalist, it becomes so endearing, and it's like your friends. And this happens with women a lot more, that you've got a lot of female friends who are fucking hilarious, but they wouldn't do stand-up comedy because they're situationally funny. You leave wishing you'd worn a diaper. And I'm saying that this movie has that lightness and joy and hilarious. And there are times where she says things that were written as a joke and that works well, and she's doing great. It's very similar to if you just actually watch Meryl Streep as a human in the world. She's really fucking funny. But a lot of her characters aren't. Right. So I had no idea that she had that kind of like natural timing and and it was just so refreshing. Yeah,
well, I know that Liz is a connoisseur of rom-coms, so he likes shitty ones and she likes good ones for different reasons. But I think her knowing that there's like some, because they almost never happen. Did we talk about The Big Sick?
I don't know,
with Kumail. I haven't seen it in a
while, but it's so good.
That was an example of a rom-com that came out that was like, oh my God, this is how you do it. This is perfect. But it was like that, and then Crazy Rich Asians, I guess. Yeah. That was one.
There are still things like Lifetime Channel, Hallmark Channel. There's still people who,
I mean, the way that it used to be with like Sleepless in Seattle, that time, there was like 2, 3, 4 a year, and it was a real market, and not so much anymore.
Yeah. So I watched that twice because it just felt really good. It felt really good. Essentially, part of the thing is that as a journalist and the type of person that Seth character is in this, And what's so interesting, it's position. So she's Secretary of State and she hires him to be a staff writer. And he has a best friend who is one of those just tech entrepreneur types. So in the similar vein of like one might have a Jiminy Cricket as the conscious and like believe in yourself. And then there is this character in there that is so playfully like life coachy, optimizing. And that is not like the level of self-doubt that Seth's character has is so completely endearing. And doing the adventure. So for me, I had a hard time choosing which one of these people I wanted to be. So part of the healing for me is like, I am also this underdog who's not like has skills and not pulling it off and sometimes underestimates my value. But I'm also sometimes situationally in relationships really busy and high powered and have shit going on and bigger plans than other people. And just like allowing myself to meander between both of those characters and allow connection and excitement. And the I think one of the underlying questions is about integrity and values for both of the characters.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be honest, truthful, and in integrity with yourself and with your values and in the world and still making an impact?
Yeah.
Which I did not expect to be thinking about. Like they actually
in a rom-com.
Yeah. It's actually kind of that smart.
Okay. You've sold me. I'm going to check it out. And
nice.
I think we'll all check it out. So
yeah,
I'll throw in my 2 cents afterwards, but it sounds good.
Yeah. What have you watched?
I've watched quite a few things. I mean, just a couple of random points. Did I mention that I watched Gravity for the first time since I saw it in the theater on my 3D headset?
Ooh, how was that?
It was fun. The movie is not as good plot wise as I remember. It is a stunning masterpiece, but it's such a roller coaster ride that like a Christopher Nolan movie, the first time you watch it, there's a lot of sleight of hand from storytelling perspective that you just don't notice because you're just along for the ride.
Right.
And the second time through now, I'm like, oh, this is a little clunky at times.
Yeah.
But still, like, technically and cinematically, I still don't think there's been anything like it. There's a couple of scenes that make you hold your breath as you're just going, oh my God. And it's great. Like nothing evokes like that movie.
Could you imagine being Bullock playing that role, like having to do that level of physicality and response and probably to, I don't know, ping pong balls that are green, like in a hole, like dropping in? Is that, I don't have that kind of.
I watched quite a bit of the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because I was curious about that exactly. And I mean, she does a good job in that, like she talked, they had her talk with astronauts and do some of that kind of training so that she understands how to like, but they made her a fish out of water character in that she's like a scientist who works in medical technology. She's not, but she's the only one who can install this piece of equipment in the telescope. So she's not really an astronaut.
Cool.
And they make, I think they do that in person intentionally. They do that so that they can give her a little bit more emotional response to it. She's not as good at staying calm in these situations. But it's got to be really, I wonder now how they would do it differently with things like the technology, like the volume that they're using for like the Star Wars Mandalorian stuff, where I wonder if you could actually put people in an environment where they could see the thing around them, and so they're reacting to it differently. I mean, but as far as movies heavily relying on technology where the person can't really interact with it, they did a good job with it.
Yeah, I just wonder what kind of emotional endurance it would take to go.
It'd be exhausting.
Oh, right, that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're panicked, you're heavily breathing.
Yeah.
Okay, now we need coverage from this angle. Okay, wait, we got to take 25 minutes to an hour to change a thing.
Did we talk about the footage of Ian McKellen breaking down in tears on the set of The Hobbit because he was so fucking tired of acting to green screens everywhere, and it is a heartbreaking glimpse into the disgusting nature of your typical Hollywood movie, and how like not artistically rooted that it is. And I'm specifically talking about The Hobbit because that's what's so tragic about those movies is Peter Jackson obviously believed in the original trilogy, and he put so much love and heart into it. Like, I remember learning that all of the main actors in the Council of Nine, the Fellowship of the Ring, the 9 actors, they all got a tattoo of the Elvish symbol for 9.
Right.
Ian McKellen was like 60 something years old, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get a tattoo with you guys. Like, that's how seriously they took that. And then to see that get so and even one of the main things that sucked about the Hobbit movies is that it was way too much CG,
right?
Not enough practical stuff. And yeah, when you see like, okay, why does that happen? Money. Because it was going to be a different director, and then at the last minute that director pulled out, and so they offered Peter Jackson all this money, and he's like, fine, I'll come back and do it, but he didn't really want to be there, and it shows.
Yeah. Well, we can extrapolate that as a cautionary tale to what may happen if a lot more of our lives become virtual,
right?
Without tangible human bodies to react and respond with and against, and land and trees and
good point,
that kind of thing. Ooh.
Okay, so I saw Gravity. We've been slowly working our way through Parks and Rec, which is really fun. Been enjoying the crap out of that. We started watching a true crime documentary called Sasquatch. That's been really interesting. Don't know where it's going, but it's pretty cool. It's not really about Sasquatch necessarily, but it's cool. I'm curious to see where it goes. I watched The Evil Dead, which is the 1983 one, and Evil Dead 2, which are such an interesting movies to watch back to back, because it really is like, he's like, can I try that again with more money? Do you guys mind? I'm just going to do it again. Because the second movie is the first movie. He's just like, let me switch a couple things around here. But it's not even trying to be a sequel. It's like the same character in both movies, but he doesn't remember what happened in the last movie. And yeah. So
remind me his name.
Ash.
No.
Oh, you mean Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell. Yeah.
Yes.
So I had no idea that Autolycus from Xena Warrior Princess was beloved by a bunch of people for this other movie.
Yeah.
And so at some point I was going through one of my phases of like binging, like reading interviews and watching videos of Lucy Lawless post Xena World. And when she got into Ash and Evil Dead, like,
yes.
I'm like, oh, and everybody's like, I know a bunch of geeky
It's a reunion of those two actors.
Yeah, obsessed with Bruce Campbell, and I'm like, oh, and I haven't seen those.
Yeah,
but that's why they love him, and so I'm like, oh no, I should go watch that and figure it out, because
the first movie it's groundbreaking and messy. Like, it's not, it's got some parts that just go on for too long. It's not a perfect movie, right? But there's stuff in it that you can see where, when you hear people like Quentin Tarantino say that when he saw The Evil Dead, he was like, I've never seen anything like this. That was one of his Pulp Fiction moments. Like, for Quentin Tarantino seeing that movie and being like, this guy made this thing on a shoestring budget. And it was so inspiring to so many filmmakers, because there's stuff that you'd never seen. There's really interesting filmmaking tricks that they use where, like, the camera will represent a monster, which, by the way, you never see in the whole movie. You always just see it catching up to people and them turning around and running from it. Yeah. But they'll do this thing where it will get to the point where it's nipping at their heels. And then the next scene, it'll be back again. So there's all these inconsistencies that just give you the feeling like, oh no, they're going to get caught. Oh wait, no, they're not. Oh no, they're going to get caught. And it lets him like ramp up the tension.
Nice.
And there's there's times where like there's inconsistencies, like continuity errors, where like the door will be closed and then it'll be open because it makes it more tense, and it's very strange. But
Right.
but it's definitely like nothing you've ever seen. Sam Raimi has a unique style. Evil Dead 2 is pretty close to a perfect movie for what it's trying to be.
Yeah.
Like Evil Dead 2 is like he mastered it, and it's got the right tone of hilarious and funny at times. It's like dark comedy, but it also has like it's a nightmare in a lot of ways and really scary. But and then the third one, some people say it jumped the shark. I would say I think that's an underrated trilogy. Let's say that. Sure. And the middle one is Empire Strikes Back, and it's almost perfect. And the third one is a little bit, well, okay, but it definitely doesn't retread the same territory. That's something you can say for it.
Wow.
So they're very gory and violent. But especially the second one is like, I don't know. There's a thing that Faye and I call gleeful horror.
Sure.
Where it's not like I think I want to kill myself after the movie's over. Where it's like, oh, and I don't mean like Saw or some shit like that. Yeah. Those are like morbid and mean. Yeah. There's something. What's a good example? Gremlins is gleeful horror. It's not really horror, but they're fucking monsters and they're a little scary. But it's like lighthearted, and I find Evil Dead to be that kind of gleeful horror.
Yeah. Now I know that we want to talk about Attack the Block and Black Widow. I just think it makes the most sense to talk about Attack the Block next.
I think so. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't love Black Widow.
That's fine.
So I don't have a lot to say about it other than it felt like it was directed by two different people, and one of them really understood character development and dialogue scenes, and then a completely different director directed an action movie, and they just like shoved them together, and they didn't feel connected to me at all, and it felt like one of the biggest missteps I've seen from Marvel. And it's unfortunate because I see the DNA there of something cool. And there was a lot of stuff that I liked. It got me emotionally two different times. So I'm definitely not saying it's a bad movie. And I just felt like there were very little stakes because she's basically superhuman, but she's not supposed to be. And they did such a better job with that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt like, where they were like emphasizing these guys don't have superpowers. But how does she not have superpowers? Like, she fell out of the fucking sky through a building, and anyway. It was a little for me.
That's fine. Here's what
I want to hear your thoughts on Attack the Block, though.
Sure, we'll get there. Here's what I think is potentially essential for people to appreciate and enjoy Black Widow. So Black Widow is a well put together, straight ahead action spice thriller with a fuck ton of badass women, which is not something we have a lot of. We're getting more of those kinds of movies. So it pulls off. I think it's fit together better than any of the Bond movies I've watched. As far as giving you something of substance emotionally to and really right. Fucking great choreographed. Like it's better. It's a better emotional arc than any of the Bond movies, which make fuck tons of movies. So it's more substantial there. All of the action sequences kick ass and are well choreographed, and all of the choices they make for the fighting styles for the characters in there make sense. They make a lot of sense. So as a straight ahead action flick, it's awesome. Timing of this movie in the whole arc of the MCU is that's rough. Definitely off. So part one of that is everybody had been begging for the backstory of Black Widow. Now, for me,
a decade ago.
For me, when I go back and watch all of the MCU stuff, I am going to put this where it should have been. I'm going to put this movie After, what is it, Civil War? I'm going to put it after Civil War. So when I watch Civil War, I'm going to watch Black Widow, and I'm just going to have some cool foreshadowing.
You know what? You are the first person to say that. And now I haven't thought that until you just mentioned it. And now that I'm thinking about it, what if it had come out then? How would I have felt differently? And I'll bet you I would have felt a lot differently about it.
Oh, yeah.
I still say that it still feels like two movies. It feels that it doesn't feel like they merged them together. And I still think that she's too invincible, and it robs from the stakes of the movie.
Yes.
But I definitely think this movie would have impressed me a lot more if it had come before even the TV shows. If it had come before the TV shows, I think it would have been
supposed to have.
It was
That's
supposed
the problem.
to. That's a really good
point.
point.
To have been released before the TV show, so we wouldn't have had that world and that stuff going on in our heads.
But after Civil War, I think would have actually been perfect.
Yep.
Because then I would have been like, "Ooh, yeah, let's see what happens with this character when she goes off." So if I ever sit down and watch the whole saga again, I'm gonna stick it where it belongs.
Yep.
I mean, like right there after Civil War, and see if it's more palatable, because I think you might be right.
Yeah. Well, and emotionally, what would happen after watching this movie and then getting all the way through Endgame would be, it's a bigger, like, all of her choices have bigger stakes because she's not someone who has nothing to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, that it does. Trying to retroactively add this in is like, why do I care? And it does undercut the impact and the weight of the story. And I just have you watched Pitch Meeting? Have we talked about this? There's a YouTube series called Pitch Meeting. He does like 5-minute videos where he plays two characters and they're both kind of an idiot, but he pitches a movie to a studio executive, and it's always like big movies, but he points out plot holes and just interesting things. And one of his comments on this one was, why is it that we're getting to this movie? Well, do you remember a few years ago when the executive of Disney said that female superhero movies won't work, and then the studio executive was like, oh no, we're not that's not why we're and they're like, don't talk about that. And it does seem like this is something happening now because there were people stopping it from happening back then.
Yeah.
And it should have happened back then, and it would have been better back then.
And think about how the grumpiness that people had with the scenes between Nat and Bruce Banner from Ultron, and then Civil War, and then this movie, like the grumpiness that people had at Joss Whedon after Age of Ultron would have been differently reconciled a lot sooner. Who knows? I don't know when they wrote this. I don't know when they came up with this story arc and that sort of thing. If it would have been possible without seeing how promising we responded, like it would have had to have come out before Captain Marvel. And they just didn't know whether people would give a shit about a female-led movie. I don't remember if it might have if it was 2016-ish. I think that's before Wonder Woman.
It is. Well, even Wonder Woman didn't really change the industry's mind about this. Yeah, so I still feel like it's one of the weaker entries, regardless of the timing. But I will say that I think the timing makes a really big difference in how much. So I think in the sequence, and you think about her sacrifice in Endgame would have landed so much heavier after this.
Oh my God, yeah.
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 Huh. Yeah, good point.
So I think it holds if you're not comparing it to like a Ragnarok or anything before. If you're just letting it be a standalone spy thriller, even comparing it to Atomic Blonde could be interesting because they both do what they're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Do you know much about the director? Did you look her up?
I didn't look her up.
She has like 3 film credits, and they are all very small, independent films about young women finding their way in the world and overcoming some kind of. So it's clear that Marvel like picked this director to direct the emotional character scenes. And listen, all the actors are fucking amazing. Like, I'm not knocking any of that. The actors are incredible. I mean, the 2 leads are Scarlett Johansen, who's awesome, and like I love her in so many different things. Lost in Translation, Under the Skin, she's incredible. And then the girl from Midsommar, which she went through a lot to make that movie, and she's an incredible actress. The 2 of them are awesome. I like David Harbour. I thought he did good with the role, and there was some funny stuff there too. I just felt like, again, it felt like 2 different movies, not enough gravity and consequence to the action sequences.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like cars flipping in ways that I'm like, everyone in that car is dead. And I know it. And I buy that. If it's Captain America, I buy it if it's a superhero.
That's literally a Bond film.
What?
That is literally a Bond film.
Not
and a Ryan Reynolds action film.
Ryan Reynolds, maybe, I don't know. Like what? Deadpool? Sure, that he's invincible.
And the like the Hitman's Bodyguard wife, whatever. Those
I didn't see those. Yeah, I agree with that. But for me, the Bond movies maybe to a little bit lesser extent, but John Wick and the Bourne movies and even the Daniel Craig Bond movies for the most part, they ride an edge of believability. They have to go, well, does that seem realistic? Because if it seems too superhuman, then we start losing the audience.
Sure.
And this one felt like a cartoon to me, like Warner Brothers cartoon.
Right on. The other thing that's fantastic is I like the way that they share this movie. Kind of. On one hand, I really wanted Scarlett's, what is it? Natalie? Natasha. Thank you. I kept picking 2 wrong ones. So I wanted Natasha to have more of a story. I don't know that they actually accomplished this, but they also tell new stories of other characters. And it's like, it's a springboard for something else. And that's cool.
Well, her sister, I mean, it seems to be, and by the way, that got me way more excited for the Hawkeye series. I wasn't really excited about that before, and when I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, I like that character, I like that actress. So now I'm actually more excited about where that series is going.
I like the choices they made with the Yelena character, and I think it'll be interesting to watch her forward. And I'm purposely
Yelena was the sister
on it.
What?
I'm purposely trying to have the last word on this movie so that we can transition to something.
Okay, I'll shut up then.
Thank you. It's like, this is not working. This is not working.
No. I'm very thick. You have to tell me directly.
Yeah. So I think it launches something that's exciting for the people who are continuing further. And I think it just meets the standard that's been set by all of the decades of action movies. Like, nothing else has ever been required to be all that believable. It's a great critique, and I think this does it. This just does what an action movie is supposed to do. So I'm thrilled about that. I'm curious because I did watch Attack the Block last night, and it's starting to occur to me that I sort of heard about it. It came out in 2011.
Yeah, this is an older movie, and it's a cult following, fanatical cult following. A lot of people really love this movie.
Yeah. So the synopsis of this is it's I don't know what they call these neighborhoods in London. Not slums, projects. I don't know what they call lower income neighborhood in London. Aliens fall from the sky, and a small adolescent group of boys and their friends save the world, the town.
I'm possibly the world.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes it awesome.
Yeah. As far as like setting up the like a large stakes for your anti-heroes, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good this. Also, a horror movie. My dreams last night were really fucking active. After watching this, there's a lot of action in my dreams.
The design of the creatures is one of my favorite elements of that movie. Like, it's so hard to come up with something really fresh and original after Alien. Like, once H.R. Giger came on the scene, how do you create an alien that's going to be really fresh and original? I think, Stranger Things didn't really strike me as that original with the Demogorgon thing. It was okay. It was cool, I guess. And then like that Tom Cruise Edge of Tomorrow where they just move super fast. That was kind of cool because they were really scary and you couldn't see them. This movie managed to create a design that I'd never seen anything like it, and you could show them in slow motion running, and they're interesting. They're fascinating to watch.
And they look affordable.
I like that too. Yes, this looks like a budget-friendly movie.
Oh my God.
It's really polished though, right?
Yes. All of the choices that they got to make when you're the fun of creativity loves constraints.
Yes.
This is the opposite of Spider-Man on Broadway, where Bono and The Edge are just throwing money at it and people are fucking dying and it's a piece of shit and no one can write the story because you can do anything. We got you. Right? Yeah. This is like, how do you make the most captivating thing after out of like popsicle sticks and just this one set and the like block around it.
And for me, they nailed it. The movies, it's such a great coming of age story. It's a very like young warriors with like a purpose, like that didn't have a purpose, and then they're like, we finally have a place to show what we can do, and there's something so like beautiful about that and then there's this cultural race commentary thing that I don't know. I felt like it was handled really maturely. Like it was very realistic. It wasn't heavy-handed or over the top, but it was really believable that you were like, okay, I see how this, like, everybody grew. Everybody had a journey in this. And it's brutal. It's got that 1980s kids movie kind of brutality where you're like, we're not pulling any punches, and there are little kids in danger in this movie, and it's scary.
Goonies with aliens.
Yeah, 100%.
Or like black kid Goonies with aliens.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing.
Also, the fucking dialogue of all the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it borders on like you need a translation if
like
you're
Snatch.
Not, if you're not but who are these kids? I wonder, do they all actually talk like that? Is that how they did it, or are some of them affecting maybe, because I know that when you have a dialogue like that, a lot of times you can turn it on and turn it off.
Yes.
So maybe these are kids who they actually have a background or an exposure to that. Regardless, they all have such unique personalities. They have unique styles of communicating. And again, it doesn't feel by the numbers. It feels very personal, and it feels believable. And also just this crazy over the top story where somebody kills monsters with samurai swords
and ice skates.
A 15-year-old kills aliens from space with samurai swords and ice skates.
Yeah. I am not I'm not trying to be disrespectful by not knowing these two actors' names. I looked them up and I don't necessarily know that one of them I don't know that I can pronounce, and I forgot the two. So there's the gentleman who's in the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And he's the lead. And then there's the guy who's in Legends of Tomorrow.
Boyega, I believe is his name.
Couple of 2-3 seasons. I guess he was in Flash.
Which guy?
The young kid who has the like sideways angled mohawk.
I don't know if I recognize any of the
Yeah.
other kids.
Yeah,
I know
well,
some of the other adult actors
yeah.
from
So
other
he's
things.
in Legends of Tomorrow for 3 seasons, and he transitioned from Flash to Legends of Tomorrow, and he played the character Jax. He was half of Firestorm, this nuclear or
Got it.
nuclear flying flame throwing. So I was actually really surprised. I've actually seen him in another like military movie, and he was okay in that. I'm actually surprised at how good he was in this movie, and because I really didn't enjoy his performances mostly in Legends of Tomorrow. And when I went back to rewatch all of Legends of Tomorrow, I think a year ago, I was nicer to him in the rewatch, because that's just what happens for me when I already know what's disappointing to me. I ease it up and enjoy what I can enjoy.
Yeah.
And there are some moments that are, I don't know what happened, the difference between the two, and whether the writing was more fun in one thing and more, I don't know if he's from the UK and so he has that, like, and then he's doing an act. I don't know what the difference was, but I was really shocked and surprised for both of these actors to see how much more they had to do and bigger when they were younger people.
Yeah, John Boyega same way in Star Wars. This was his breakout performance, and he is amazing at pulling off this very layered character who's this young kid who's dealing with and the thing about, there's one shot early in the movie, this isn't going to spoil I really spoil much, but there's one shot early in it when they show all the other kids going into their houses.
Yeah.
And then they show him go in, but they don't show inside. And they just leave that until the end, when you're like, oh, this explains more about this character. It's such good writing. And I agree with you completely. And it seems an example that a good script and a good director and like the right project can draw stuff out of people, and then you put them in not that environment, and there's not much. I don't know if there's much the actor can do. You can only do what you're given.
My sense is that this happened to both of them. My sense is that they were young and didn't know any better, and that the stakes were lower. It was exciting enough for them to show up and be in this cool ass movie. So they probably tried stuff because they didn't know any better. And by the time they get into these bigger, more funded, more projects with bigger eyeballs, they probably played safer. And I just have a sense that, I don't know, because it's
got to be hard, obviously, to make that transition and to deal with that kind of pressure. But my instinct is not to put the blame on the performers in those situations. My instinct is like, fuck J.J. Abrams. Like, that's the problem. The problem is Star Wars was a piece of shit. The script was shit. It was a corporate money grabbing piece of garbage. And there were people who wanted to be involved, and I think all those actors showed up like, oh my God, I'm going to be in Star Wars. This is going to be insane. I'm going to do the best thing I could ever done in my career for this. This means so much to so many people. And then they're like, oh, you want me to say that line? Like this way? Mm-hmm. Okay. 'Cause like, think about what happened with, Chris Miller and Phil Lord, or am I getting that backwards? The Lego Movie and the 21 Jump Street guys, they were hired to direct the Han Solo prequel. And when they were directing it, I was interested because I'm like, ooh, that might be fresh and fun and original. And then they fired them simply because they were trying to make it fresh and fun and original. And they were doing a lot of improv with the actors, and they were trying to make it cool and like hip and like with the times. And the brass comes in from Kathleen Kennedy and all the Star Wars people, and they're like, no, this needs to be by the numbers. This needs to be. So then they go and hire Ron Howard who is like, oh yeah, I can do a studio by the numbers. Here's exactly what you want. Then it's not original, and it's not fresh, and it's not the actor's fault
Right.
that happened.
Well, I'm not also saying that it was the actor's fault. What I'm saying is that when everybody's in this weird, playful, no one's looking at us place to create something, I think all the projects get different.
Sure.
Even just knowing, oh my God, I'm so excited to be in a Star Wars changes the ability to try and do shit, because you're comparing in your own cells in your mind.
It's
something
true.
exists. So, and then the studio's like, oh God, it's got to perform in this particular way. So the external pressures on something, it's like the second album for artists that hit big with The Thing.
Yeah.
Their first album, their first book goes mega, and then the next project is a little challenging and rough. I think that does stuff to creativity. And
I agree. I mean, I think there's got to be ways to successfully navigate that, to make good art even when there's pressure. But it's a different beast than flying under the radar and then making something like, you remember District 9? You remember that movie? You ever see that movie?
I'm gonna remind myself.
We gotta add that to our list.
That's not a fast thing.
Alien movie, allegory for racism in South Africa.
I maybe haven't. There's another movie that Stephen Amell made that has a similar name, and I don't think that's it.
I know. I think I might know what you're talking about. But District 9 was amazing, like truly like emotional and deep, and like, again, not something you've ever seen as far as a sci-fi kind of, and it came out of nowhere. Like, nobody was watching this movie. It actually was kind of an accident that the movie got that it happened, because Neil Blomkamp was supposed to direct the Halo movie, like for the video game series Halo, and then that fell through. But people had already put some money into like developing stuff, and he's like, "Well, why don't I just make this other movie?" And they're like, "Well, here's a tiny budget. Fine, go make your movie." Right. And then he made this incredible movie with, again, constraints.
Yeah.
So, like, you watch the movie and you can see how far they're stretching their budget. But they did actually, I would put Attack the Block and District 9 as very comparable movies, in the sense that they're smaller, personal, sci-fi allegory, little small budget, scrappy movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love them dearly for similar reasons, that I'm just like, yes. And I think you're right. Nobody was looking. So there's some magic that can come out because nobody's looking.
Yeah. I wonder if there can be just a slight learning, because I'm surrounded, and I have moments like this. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who think that they will have better results if they have a larger budget, better gear, better tools, more money, right? There's a lot of life that could be improved with money. They've proven that. And a lot of phenomenally interesting and creative and like absolutely amazing things happen for people when they do need to figure out how to utilize what they do have, what their strengths are currently.
Well, not to keep referencing the Bo Burnham special that we watched, but one of my favorite things about that was, this is an example of what happens when you give someone time and you just put them in a room and then be like, do something creative. And then, I mean, yeah, he bought equipment, but like you even pointed out, it's not like he didn't hire like a team of 25 CGI artists, and there's
he had an SBA disaster loan amount of equipment.
Okay.
Like most small businesses were likely able to get about 10, 11 grand if they had filled out an SBA disaster loan. So he probably had $5,000 to $8,000. Probably some of the stuff is also some software thing. So he had about like 10 grand.
Yeah. But my point is still, the point that I'm making is about constraint and the power of, and the value of, like, I mean, movies have million dollar budgets, and Bo's special just got nominated for 5 or 6 Emmys, I think. Yes. and he's competing with other 90-minute whatever things where it was teams of hundreds of people.
Yep.
And millions and tens of millions of dollars, and this is one guy with 10 grand, right? That's still more impressive.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. And I think Attack the Block and District 9, and then like there's classic low budget amazing movies. Did you ever see Primer? Did we talk about that?
I have that in I think you told me to watch it. I put
my all-time favorite time travel movie.
Oh, wait, no, you didn't tell me about that. I saw a tweet today that said, here are the top 10 time travel movies. And that was on there.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you if you wanted to watch it.
I would love to watch Primer again. Okay. And it is, I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times. And it is, I think that movie was made by the 3 actors in the movie. And I think the movie cost something like 30 grand or something like that.
That's awesome.
It's Blair Witch level budget, but it did not get the acclaim that Blair Witch did, but it is a master class in a good script and good acting, and you don't need anything else. You really don't. It was amazing. I really liked that movie.
Nice. Okay, so what do we got? Do you want to talk next time we hang out? Okay, straight up, I also watched Constantine, and I think that you like that movie, or there's importance about it to you.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. I've seen it many times, and I do like it with some asterisks. Are you not gonna do In and of Itself for a while? Is that what the plan is?
So I think the thing where I am in the process. So we were going to talk about In and of Itself. It is a one-man show, theater project.
Yeah.
And I, 3 weeks ago, started writing some bits of a one-woman show. And thematically in the first, like we were going to talk about that today, thematically in the first 20 to 60 seconds of this thing, I was like, oh, wait. He's already talking about the point of my show that I don't know yet, that I know is going to sort of be the point, but I don't know what it is yet, because I have fun and interesting scenes and I have ideas of what to do. And I had one scene or one idea that was going to be a part of this one woman show I wanted to write back in 2007. And my idea about the theme, I heard someone else was at one of the writing festivals where you develop work, doing the same theme of what I was doing in the town that I would want to be producing and trying to do this show. And so I stopped because that person was going to have more resources and be sexier as fuck doing it than I was. And I just I don't even know what the show is. And I just got kicked off the horse. Right. So now I have about 4 scenes and I have a sense of what I want the theme to be and how it's going to be relevant to the audience. And the moment he started talking about the theme, I was like, I don't have a lot of one person shows in my head. And I don't know what this show is going to be, but I have more interested in it. I have more of a scope of where I'm going. And I'm just at that pure place where I want to discover how to tell it. And I want to discover what the themes and the point are.
I get
it.
I
don't want to be influenced right now. It's just so
I totally
precious.
Get it. It's a very precious, you've got you're doing this.
Yeah.
And there's just smoke and a little bit of fire. And you're like, and don't nobody else can come over and blow anything on this or drop anything on it. It's just embers right now. I get it. I get it.
And I think
I was just wondering, is there a time frame, or is this we're going to put this on hold for a while, or is it?
I would imagine a month or 2.
Oh, fine.
Because I want to sit in a room and with either myself or someone who, and just sort of talk over the sense of the ideas of the scope and the arc that I could, because I don't have an outline. And I would feel better if I even had an outline of how to tell my bits of story. And then I can watch somebody else do it, because I know that obviously here's what I'm doing differently. The other thing is, part of the creative thing that's been really, really fun is each time I've bumped into a creative unknown challenge, I've had a really strange way of solving, like very Adrianne and creative way of solving it, which is breaking apart different like typical structures of storytelling. And if I see someone else do too many creative things, I don't want to feel like I'm doing theirs. I just want it to organically sort of pop up for me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of comedians too, when they're in the creative writing, like the creation process, are like, I don't watch other comedy while I'm doing this, because it'll just get in your head in the wrong way.
Totally.
So I get it. I don't think this is unwise at all.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to talk to you about it, because I think you're gonna freaking dig it. As a matter of fact, the fact that it caught you like that in the first 60 seconds, that only tells me more that you're gonna love it when you finally get around to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and I love
talk to Morgan about it. So don't tune in to the next podcast that I do, because I can't wait a month to discuss it.
Perfect. No, I think go do that. Go have fun.
Okay.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, it's even a big transformation for me to have gotten to the place where I recognize that there's value in my own story. I'm going to tell it differently than other people, and that I had this experience of hearing myself in other people's stories in such a way that I recognize that even if I drop into the weirdness that is unique about me, that there's universality.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten all of the amounts of permission slips. And so now I'm in that like tender stage.
Good. Well, I got to wrap this up.
Okay.
But I think we will have plenty of things to talk about next time. And we can solidify exactly what we're going to talk about before the next show.
Sure.
Also, all things subject to change, because we are counting down the minutes until a new baby arrives.
Fair.
So, I will keep you posted.
That's very exciting. And I will have this poster.
Ooh, what are all the... Are those... is that the one where... I mean, those are... this is a reproduction of...
Yeah, reproduction of everybody signing Endgame.
That's awesome.
It's so pretty.
That's really cool.
Excited.
Okay. I will catch you next week then.
Alrighty.
See you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.